This is Remembering Christmas, Episode 3, Gifts.
Merry Christmas and welcome to the third episode of Remembering Christmas, a special McGregor podcast. I'm Mark Bricker, and hosting along with me is Danielle Flood. Welcome, Danielle.
Thank you. This is so fun.
I know. We're on to our third week, our third episode, our third installment of Remembering Christmas. And each Thursday, in the month of December, we're putting out a podcast, and we're getting closer and closer to Christmas. And this week, our topic is...
Gifts.
Gifts.
Yes. So if you haven't heard the first two episodes, it's really awesome. We're kind of building on the theme. So if you want to go back, our first episode was on traditions. So we'd love to have you hear that. You can find it anywhere you listen to your podcast.
Yeah.
And then our second one was maybe my favorite so far.
Me too.
Food. Christmas food, Christmas desserts. Yes.
I think we put on calories just talking.
Maybe.
Just talking about it.
If you did hear those, leave us a comment. Tell us what you thought. We'd love to have you join the discussion.
And if you haven't already subscribed to the McGregor podcast channel, now would be a good time to do that, because anytime we produce any content like these specials or anything else, you're going to get a notification on your device and says, hey, there's a new podcast, and McGregor podcast is just released. And I love looking down and seeing that on my phone. Hey, there's a new podcast out. So
right. We all need the opportunity to focus on God in our everyday. So if podcasts are a way that you like to do that, subscribe to the McGregor podcast.
Absolutely. And these, we want to do that, but we also want to have a little fun along the way. And so that's what we've been enjoying. And so today we're going to talk about gifts. And just to get us started, we've mentioned this the last 2 weeks about the survey that we did with our staff. And this one was quite interesting, reading some of the responses, because we asked them, what is the best Christmas present you've ever received? Ever. And so there was a few that stood out to me. We'll kind of go back and forth and we can share. But the first one was from someone on our staff, and she wrote, when I was maybe 14, I really wanted a nice Canon camera and never thought I would get it because of the cost. And then she goes on and says, that's the only gift I remember crying when I opened it. So
that's pretty special.
Yeah, to have something that you don't think there's a chance that you're ever going to have, and then to open it and there it is. Yeah, that's kind of cool.
So I love meaningful gifts, and someone said a picture of their children that they had done together. I think those can be very special, that show you took time and thought into them. So yeah, meaningful gifts.
Photos in general for me carry a lot of weight. I value photos a lot. I collect them, I have them. In fact, the most meaningful gift, and it wasn't a Christmas gift per se, but to this day, the most meaningful gift I've ever received was my mom putting together a photo album of me from the time I was born until I was married.
Oh.
And it's this huge photo album. And it's not just the photos, it's all kinds of documentation and her sharing the stories and the dates and all that information. And so to have all of that, and when we've only left for one hurricane, and when we left, that's like the only thing I cared about was I've got to have this. I can replace everything else, and this is important. So when I saw that too, having pictures, it can be very special. One of the folks put on here a Mrs. Beasley doll. Now, do you know what a Mrs. Beasley doll is? You don't?
I don't know what that is.
I'm not even going to ask Christian because I know he's way too young.
Yeah.
There was a show, and I think it came out, I think it was in like the late 60s, early 70s, probably it was in the 70s, called Family Affair.
Okay.
Does that ring a bell at all? Okay. The premise was there was this man who his brother passed away, and he became the guardian of his brother's 3 children.
Okay.
And I guess maybe they lost both their mom and their dad. And there was one teenager and 2 twins that were around, 6 or 7. And the 2 twins were a boy and a girl.
Okay.
Buffy and Jody. Buffy was the girl, Jody was the boy.
Skipping away the page. Yep.
And Buffy's doll was called Mrs. Beasley.
Oh my.
And it became very popular.
Sure.
That it became a toy that was sold, for several years, as the show ran, I think for 5 or 6 years. It was pretty popular. So starred Brian Keith as Uncle Bill that took over these 3 kids. And
I bet a lot of people listening have a Mrs. Beasley or had one.
they might have had a Mrs. Beasley doll. But I just thought that just kind of brought back memories because that's a show that both Macy and I remembered watching growing up. And so it was kind of neat. What's another one that stood out for you?
I love experiences. So this one, someone received a cruise to celebrate an anniversary, but also Christmas.
I love that one.
Yeah.
too.
Do you do that in our family? Sometimes if it's a big gift, it's like, this is Christmas and birthday.
Yeah, we're wrapping everything together. I've even said,
bit.
if I can get this, it will go for this, and 2 Christmases. Yeah.
Right? Yes. And it's worth it.
Absolutely.
Sometimes.
And experience, it depends on the person because some people would rather have something that they can keep and have for a long time. Others care less about the stuff. It's much more about the experience and being together and doing something together and shared. So which one would you prefer? Would you prefer experience or something?
I'm an experience person.
I figured.
Yeah. It's fun. And it's nice because my husband and I are similar in that way. I asked him what his favorite was. So I don't know. I'll tell you now or later.
We'll let you tell us later when we get the yells personally. Just another one that stood out to me. Someone got a bongo set, which, hey, I appreciate the musical instruments, and I'll throw one more in. This is the one that Christian said he's heard this before, but from this person, but they got a box of coal.
Oh, no.
For Christmas, because when asked what they wanted for Christmas, they said they didn't want anything. And so mom didn't appreciate that, so got him a box of coal.
Well, I think the other one that stood out to me, again, just memories, but someone was proposed to on Christmas morning.
Yeah,
that's a good story.
That's pretty special.
Yeah. So I guess the ring was the gift, but the memory is around.
Goes on and on.
That's right.
And
Celebrated.
And on and on and on. Yeah. Okay, so what's some unusual gifts or special gifts that you have either given or received?
So unusual is very interesting because I have some favorites, and some things along the way. But recently I was given a coffee mug holder in the shape of deer antlers.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, a coffee mug holder.
Yeah. So it's about 12, 16 inches tall with the antlers sticking out, enough space so you can hang Christmas coffee mugs.
Okay, multiple. I was picturing holding just one that you drank out of.
No, yeah. So
because that was in Christmas Vacation.
That's right.
That was at the end. This holds multiple ones.
Yes.
So it's functional as well as unique.
Yeah. It was really thoughtful, but it's a little out there in the view. Antlers aren't really my thing.
Oh, okay.
And I opened it up and I was like, it's antlers. Yeah. But then the thought was very thoughtful.
But if you ever have a cabin in the woods, it would fit in.
It would fit right in.
Yeah, year round.
I'll work on that. Yeah.
So have you ever given something unusual?
Oh, well, yes. So I'm a fan of the white elephant gift exchange. And sometimes they're great things. Sometimes, they're a little more unique. But Nate and I had purchased a decor item from IKEA. And it was this large rattan boat, we called it.
Yeah, like 3 feet.
Easily 3 feet.
Yeah.
And then about 2 feet wide with a little indentation. It was to hold decorations in the center of the table. And we used it for years at our table. So it's beautiful, wooden. Then didn't have as much space for it at our house. So we gifted it to the Bricker Life Group.
White Elephant.
White Elephant.
Exchange, yes.
And someone didn't know what they were getting when they opened it.
Well, it was something that looked big. They thought, wow.
Yeah.
So, but the story doesn't end there, does it?
No, we started a tradition.
Yes.
And so
going back to our first episode about traditions.
Absolutely. So the person that took it home thought, how great would it be to give it away again? So they kept it in their attic
they didn't want
all
it in
year
their
long.
house.
No, who has room for this thing? Especially if you use your table.
Yes.
But so they brought it the next year. And then someone brought it the next year. And now it's on its 9th or 10th year.
And it gets signed.
And goes home with another couple. And it's kind of like the guest book of our life group.
Yeah, it's a little archaeological history there.
And people know where it's, gone. And usually you have to hide it now because
because nobody's going to pick a big one. Yeah,
that's right.
So they get creative. Now, the reason I heard you got rid of it was, I think I heard Nate say this, that the kids were using it to slide down the stairs.
They tried, yes.
Like a little sled.
Yeah, and they were too, not good.
Little dangerous there.
Oh, goodness, the boat. But
the
lore, yes, tradition lore.
Yeah.
Something.
I'm trying to think, I can't think of any really unusual gifts. People say I'm hard to buy for. And so I just say, well, get me a gift card to Apple or Amazon.
There you go. Collect them up.
I'm happy. So
yeah, no, I would say that you can. I don't know. Do you like coffee?
Oh yeah, do you like coffee?
Coffee's a good one.
Definitely, and I have received coffee as a gift before. Yes, that is good. They have these coffee subscriptions. We have a very good friend that enjoys coffee as well, and we'll give that as a gift subscription where they get different coffees kind of like Coffee of the Month Club. But
I get nervous about that because I only like good coffee. So I don't want someone.
Well, these are pretty high-end quality coffees, yes. Yeah. It's not like.
But if it's flavored or you don't actually
No, it's
like
not flavored. They're not
Okay.
flavored.
Okay,
no.
good.
No. In fact, you take a quiz at the beginning on what some of the coffee profiles that you like, and so they customize it.
That's special.
Yeah.
I've heard of a lot of those monthly things that are nice gifts because they can be experiential, but also, they last a long time.
They keep on going. So where do you think the whole tradition, going back to traditions, of giving gifts at Christmas time came from?
Yes. I think everyone has an answer. It's one of those things, like you show love by caring for those around you. And gifts are just one of those ways to meet people's needs and show love. So I think as early as, humans were around, we were probably giving gifts of our produce or gifts of the field.
People that we cared about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and loved. Yeah.
But then as you're celebrating in the Old Testament, both the feasts and they'd gather together. And then in the New Testament, as we celebrate Jesus' birth and death and sacrifice, I think those times to remember, as we talked about traditions, you're trying to make this important, make this something that we value. And so when we're talking to our kids, it's not just like, ooh, what am I going to get? It's we give gifts because Jesus was a gift to us.
Right.
And so that's the simplistic view, but I think just loving those around us, it's a wonderful way to show love.
Yeah, it really is. I know if you do any looking around or talking, historically, where did that come about as a Christmas tradition? And a lot of it goes back, some will say back to the wise men and them bringing gifts to Jesus. But also a little more recent, I say recent, over 1,000 years ago, King Wenceslaw that we sing about, or Saint Wenceslaw, gave gifts to children.
Okay.
And so some would say that's where that tradition began of giving gifts at Christmas time. So there's a lot of different ways, but I think your answer is the human nature that wants to say something or do something special for the people they care about, and that we all have that kind of built into us to want to do that for those that mean something to us.
Well, traditions are great, and you can carry them through thousands of years, but if they don't mean anything to you, they lose that initial, you have to both carry on the tradition and the meaning. Yeah. And so it's almost better if you don't know the meaning to stop doing things or figure out what you want to celebrate and start a tradition in that way. And so, gift giving can be a very kind and loving thing to do, and can point people toward Jesus.
How do you tie that? You've got fairly young children. How do you tie that meaning of what it really means to give? Because obviously as a kid, I can remember it was a whole lot more exciting to open gifts than it was to think about giving them. So how do you work at building in what it really means to give, and what you also said there about the true meaning of Christmas?
We did talk, in past episodes about traditions, serving with your family, serving your neighbors. It's definitely a year-round affair. You're serving with your time, you're loving others with acts of service, or maybe words. You're building each other up. And all of that is training and discipling your kids in how to love others well, participating in church, serving in church. So at Christmas time, it's just more heightened. How can we use those things that the Bible's told us to do to add value to the celebration of Jesus' birth? I love to, so in our family, we would open one present Christmas Eve, and then the rest Christmas morning.
That's what we did too.
I was surprised because I didn't realize other families did that. I don't know where it came from. It was something that we did. Mm-hmm. And so now we, do it as a family, but I try to make that present that they're opening on Christmas Eve special as a kind of a celebration. We've just been to the service. It's going to be more tied to our celebration of Jesus rather than a toy or a whatever.
Right. Yeah. And it is, the culture is so much about getting. And even though they will kind of throw in the giving part, but that's just because they want to sell more things. So you do buy something to give, but to truly have that desire. And I love how you talked about it even throughout the year. It's not just about gift giving, but it's about our time and it's about our energy. It's about doing things and serving others throughout the year, because really a gift is an act of service in a lot of ways. You're trying to give something to somebody that will be meaningful to them, helpful to them, bless them in some way. And so to build that, to begin teaching that at a young age, not always easy, but for a dedicated mom and dad to focus on can pay off in the long run.
And our church helps. It's great to be surrounded by believers who coach our kids in the same way to help them view their lives as acts of service, and it's all related. So we're building on traditions, cooking food together and then serving others. Maybe cooking banana bread for your neighbors could be one of those acts of service.
Yeah. So you're not just going and buying something or giving them something to give to their teacher, but they're actually putting that together. Right.
Because I think that's where the joy is feeling it, like sacrificing yourself and then giving that away.
Yeah, I just thought of, we obviously have just recently finished up with our Operation Christmas Child here, but that's something that I know a lot of families like to really use as a family serve ministry project where they involve the kids from the very beginning and picking out and purchasing and maybe even using their own money to buy some of the things that they're putting in those boxes. So they're getting an idea that, yes, we're giving, but we're doing this for the goal of spreading the gospel and sharing Jesus with others that might not know about him.
It's really sweet. We do a family box, and then our oldest is starting to think about, well, if I want to put special things in, can I buy them? And so that is not something we've asked of them in this case, but the outcome of wanting to bless people. It's really touching.
That really is neat. So as we've done for each one of these episodes, we've tried to come up with a challenge for our listeners. And our challenge this week is giving to those in need, because we often focus our giving on those we love. And some of them are in need, obviously. But what about those that might have a very specific need in our community or in our neighborhood or in our church? What are some examples? How could this play out where somebody could take this challenge and give to somebody that's in need?
One thing I think about is the Bible's very clear. If we bless those who can bless us back, we're not giving sacrificially, really. And I think if we look around and try to seek to bless people who maybe have no reason to bless us back or would then bless someone else, then you're starting to demonstrate God's love instead of trying to demonstrate reciprocity, right? Because that's our human nature. So the Salvation Army does great work, and I think you can volunteer with them year-round, but there's also the Christmas time and ringing the bells and helping them to fundraise for their work year-round. I mean, they do great work all around the world. You could give to a food drive. canned goods or something easily accessible. You could serve. We have I know specifically about some community gardens that help feed people, but also serving in the clothes closet as a family or a friend group or a couple, and I just love that we can meet people's needs in Jesus' name and then, share Christ.
Yep. And most of us probably even in our own neighborhoods know somebody, maybe they've lost a loved one recently or have gone through an illness, or maybe there is a more severe need of somebody that they could say, hey, let's do something for this family. Let's do something for this. Maybe it's somebody they go to school with. A lot of opportunities to get out of thinking about Christmas just for our family, but beginning thinking about others.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the sacrificial giving. One of our 4 measures of our church purpose statement is give generously. Yeah. And it's not just the financial side. It's giving of our time and of our talents, our energy, having that sacrificial mindset, not expecting anything in return, but being willing just to give. And, this is the time of the year where we probably struggle the most thinking about that.
Yeah.
But it's the greatest need, perhaps.
We have some friends who would organize a little Christmas caroling at one of the retirement homes. So people who, don't get out as much anymore, slowing down a little bit, bringing some Christmas cheer, kids their way.
Great
giving time.
idea.
I love.
Yeah. Our life group used to do that.
Yeah, it's them.
Yeah.
But anybody can do it.
Yeah.
Caroling is one of those things. It doesn't take a lot to organize, especially with social media now. Just pick a day, tell people you're doing it. Doesn't matter how many come. I
don't see carolers except on Hallmark Christmas movies anymore.
It's hot here. No one wants to
No
carol
one wants to
when
go
it's
out
hot.
and carol. That's why I go into a nursing home or an assisted living. It's air conditioned. You're inside. You can, if they'll let you do that, but you have to call ahead and ask. I don't know nowadays. It might be hard to get in, but with COVID. But hopefully
stand outside.
Stand outside. Yeah,
honestly.
make it work. Yeah. Any other thoughts on how we can challenge one another to have that spirit of giving and serving this time of year?
Well, it's really exciting to look around our community and see so many churches, organizations serving the poor. And so jumping on with someone who's doing good work, I think can meet your passions and goals. Making a Christmas gift in honor of your kids, grandkids, mom, dad, those I see are very special because face it, we don't need more stuff, right? Often we have what we need or we buy what we need, and gifts are nice, special, and maybe a little extra.
Yeah.
But a gift in your name that's helping people around the world, I think honorary gifts are very cool.
And even with the many local ministry and mission organizations that we have around in our area here that our church partners with, to be able to give financially to them in honor of somebody and say, hey, I just gave $50 to Echo in your name, or
that's right,
Verity, or one of these other.
Talk to a nonprofit; they will make it happen.
They will make it happen. They know how to make it happen.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully, we've encouraged folks to be reminded that again that Jesus came to serve.
That's right.
And we are called to follow Him. And Christmas should be about serving others, giving to others, not about what we get. And what can we do to reach out and help those that perhaps need it the most right now at this time of year? And ultimately, with the opportunity to share the gospel in those scenarios and situations.
Before we close, I want to read James. We had this pulled up. And James 1:17 says, "Every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of the heavenly lights, who does not change like the shifting shadows." So if we're teaching our family, if we're teaching and discipling those around us, Jesus is the gift. He's enough. Everything else is blessing.
Absolutely. That's a great way to finish. Thank you, Danielle, for reading that. And that wraps up our 3rd episode of Remembering Christmas. And we will be back for our 4th and final episode next Thursday. So hope to have you join us. And if you, again, as Danielle said earlier, if you haven't listened to the other episodes, go back and listen to episode 1 and 2. And we'll see you right back here next week.
See ya.
See ya.